I'm Chief Warrant Officer 4 Victor Pinion, U.S. Navy retired, telling some stories of my naval career. Well, this one, I was the maintenance officer aboard the Midway, and I had probably 6 months remaining on my tour of duty. We had an assist visit from the Commandant of our PAC Aircraft Handling Assistance Team. Well, we'd been notified that visit's going to happen. And also, I had gotten a maintenance requirement card changed for a preventive maintenance, daily preventive maintenance program, directing us to switch from using the A4 bridle as our No Load bridle for the Bridle Arrestor to the C1 pendant. I don't know why it was, because Midway still used our bridle arrestors every day. We had F4 Phantoms as our fighters, and they were bridle type aircraft. And you used the heaviest settings on that bridle arrestor and all 4 pucks of the brake pucks for shooting those no loads. So you got a good test of the bridle arrestor if you used a jet bridle, which is a little heavier. And I had lots of old A4 bridles because we had used, Midway had launched a lot of A4s, and we had saved the old bridles that were no longer good for launching aircraft. We'd saved them to use them as no-load bridles, and we had a bunch of them. I went over and talked with Dick Schumann about that, who's my captain rep, the home port captain rep, and he called back to Lakehurst and talked with the people there that had made that change. And they told him that nobody uses bridle. Most of the aircraft launched off of carriers nowadays were no-gear launch type aircraft. Very seldom use the bridle arrestor anymore. But still, we had a few aircraft, a couple of aircraft that still used bridles or pendants, like the A3, big heavy A3 20-engine jet, and the C1E1 aircraft. The Constellation had run out of A4 bridles, and they tried to order some new A4 bridles to use as no-load bridles. Well, Lakehurst made all of those bridles, I guess, and they would make up a bunch and then dismantle that machinery to make something else. They come up with the idea that the only ship that still launches A4 aircraft is the Lexington. So they decided to restrict the issuing of A4 bridles to the Lexington only. So they told the Constellation to switch to C1 pendants, because how they almost never use their bridle arrest anymore, use a C1 pendant to launch no loads. So, and they changed all of the preventive maintenance cards for the daily no loads. Well, that included us. So Dick Schumann had asked them about it, and they said, well, tell the bosun to use whatever kind of bridle he wants to shoot his no loads. It's up to him, whatever he needs to do to prepare for his day's operation. If he wants to use, he's got a bunch of old A4 bridles, keep right on using them. Well, that's verbal. Dick told me that. So I continued using the A4 bridles, and I put a feedback report in on that PMS card to change it to allow us to use the A4 bridles in writing on the maintenance requirement card. That action had not been completed yet. It was going to be, but it had not been completed yet when this handling team appeared aboard, and there was a chief, ABE chief, on that handling team that had been on the Connie when they had that problem, and now he's on a handling team, and he believed that the C1 pendant's the only one allowed legally to be used to shoot no loads. He saw us using the A4s, and he told the cat chief, and the cat chief, well, you need to talk to the bosun. So he come talk to me. Now he's all red-faced demanding. Now, I'm a W3 warrant officer, and I'm the maintenance officer on that ship. And I tried to explain to him why. He wouldn't listen. You are required by the maintenance requirement card to use C1s, and by God, you will use the C1 pendant, you'll stop using those A4s. I said, listen, I'm using the A4s. And the man, he's demanding. He represents the admiral, and he's all fully pumped up with his shit. Well, I went and talked to the V2 division officer, who was at that time, I believe, still Lieutenant Commander Hank Davison. He said, well, you handle that. Okay, great. Well, Hank and I were good friends. We had great respect for each other. And I went and I briefed the air boss. And the boss says he does represent Airpack. Humor him. Use the C1s while he's aboard. He's only going to be aboard for about 3 days, so humor him and use the C1 while he's aboard. So I did. As soon as he left, after about a total of 3 days, flew off on the cod, we switched back to using A4s. About a month or so before I transferred, that team is back. Now they had changed everybody's cards, really, for the whole fleet, allowing us to make the decision of what bridle to use to shoot no loads to prepare for our individual ships' daily operations. Well, that made it, in writing, legal for me to use those A4 bridles. So I was using them. And man, he saw that and went ballistic. And he's all red-faced. He's chewing me out. And I told him, no, I will not. I'm legal. And he had not read the card. And he was not aware that we were allowed to. But now he has spoke his piece and he's standing his ground. I went to the air boss over. He says, "Bosun, humor the guy again." So I did. I humored him until he left and we went back to using A4s. Well, Chuck Morgan relieved me as the maintenance officer. I stayed aboard with him for a month after he reported aboard to give him as good a turnover as I could. But we were still using the A4 when he relieved me. Well, it was only just a couple of 3 months after that they replaced the Phantoms with FA-18s, which now you didn't use those jet bridles anymore anyway. This guy comes back aboard and went off on Chuck. And so I'm sorry, Chuck, I left that to you. Y'all carry on.